Greetings, explorers of the unknown, and welcome to the Obsidian Archive. Today, we're unlocking a file that blurs the line between architecture and appetite. This isn't a ghost story. It's something far older, far stranger. We're talking about a room that was never built, yet it exists. It waits, and it feeds. This is Secure File Entity AE003, designated the room that was never built. Classified as a Theta-class recursive spatial predator, AE003 poses an active and expanding threat. Access to this information is restricted to Level 5 clearance, the Architects, and for good reason. What you are about to hear is compiled from fragmented reports, harrowing exploration logs, and the chilling silence left behind by those who vanished. The containment protocol for AE003 is less about containing the entity and more about containing our own fatal curiosity. The first rule is absolute. No one enters a building suspected of housing AE003 alone. A minimum of 3 personnel must maintain constant visual contact. Why? Because the moment you're alone, it can appear. All doors within an infected structure must be welded open. The entity only manifests through a closed boundary, a door, a hatch, and any seal between spaces. Furthermore, no standard recording equipment is permitted. No cameras, no audio recorders, no motion detectors. Early attempts to document the phenomenon had unsettling results. Equipment began mapping rooms that weren't there before the team went in. The act of observation seemed to invite it, to help it grow. If a room appears that is not on the building's original blueprint, the entire structure is immediately condemned. It's sealed, purchased by an archive proxy company, and reclassified as silent asset property. It's wiped from public record, becoming another concrete tomb on a list no one wants to read. There is one more critical rule. If AE003 successfully feeds, that is, if it absorbs a human, the building must be evacuated within 11 minutes. After a meal, the room begins to hunt again, actively seeking its next occupant. And let me be clear, there is no known method of removal. You can't exorcise it, you can't demolish it, and you can't move it. In one disastrous attempt, a demolition team tried to destroy the room. The room survived. The rest of the building simply ceased to exist, erased from reality as if it were never there. So, what exactly is AE003? It is not a room that was built by human hands. It is a room that simply appears. It manifests inside pre-existing architecture, but only in a place where a room could logically exist, but was never planned or constructed. A forgotten corner of a basement, a sealed-off space in an attic, an odd gap between offices. It has several key identifying traits. First, it only appears when a single person is alone inside a building. The doorway material always perfectly matches its surroundings, be it brick, wood, or drywall. But with one subtle, terrifying detail: the hinges are on the inside. It opens inward into the new space, which is structurally impossible for a standard door. Once inside, the wrongness becomes palpable. The geometry is always proportional but slightly incorrect. Walls might be tilted by a single, imperceptible degree. Corners might meet at impossible angles that your mind can't quite process. The echo is wrong, either too delayed or completely absent. The air is always precisely 3.7 degrees Celsius colder than the surrounding space, a pocket of unnatural chill. And most disturbingly, the room is completely silent. Once you step inside, no sound from the outside world can reach you. The process is horrifyingly predictable. A person is alone in a building. The door to AE003 manifests human curiosity. A powerful and often fatal instinct compels them to enter. The moment they cross the threshold, the door seals behind them without a sound. For the next 4 to 7 minutes, there is only silence. Then, at some point, the victim makes skin contact with an interior surface, a wall, the floor, the ceiling. This seems to initiate the final stage. Over the next 12 to 19 minutes, the person is absorbed, integrated into the structure itself. No body has ever been recovered from AE003, but objects they were carrying, a pen, a wallet, a set of keys, have been found later, embedded within the walls, floor, or ceiling, arranged in what can only be described as a decorative, almost artistic pattern. Make no mistake, this room is not a portal. It does not lead anywhere. It is a stomach, a digestive chamber made of architecture. The behavioral laws of this entity are as simple as they are terrifying. A person alone triggers the manifestation. Curiosity leads them inside. The door seals. Silence. Skin contact. Absorption. Following this process, the room's physical dimensions expand slightly, growing with each meal. It then enters a dormant state, waiting patiently for the next lone occupant. The origin of AE003 remains one of the archive's greatest mysteries, but three dominant theories persist. Theory A describes it as an architectural tumor, a parasitic spatial organism that doesn't feed on flesh, but on presence, on the very concept of a person occupying a space. It's a cancer made of geometry. Theory B is the aborted blueprint memory. This theory suggests the room is a phantom limb of architecture, a remnant of a planned structure that was designed but never built. It's a memory, an echo in reality that remembers it should exist, and it attempts to will itself into being by consuming the space and people around it. Theory C is the most chilling. It posits that AE003 is a spatial predator from a pre-human epoch. Not a ghost, not a dimensional anomaly, but a life form made of structure itself. An organism older than walls, older than houses, older than the very language we use to describe it. It hunted in the spaces between caves, in the hollows of ancient trees, and now it hunts in the lonely places we build. Our first recorded encounter with AE003 serves as a grim foundation for everything we now know. The victim was Lucas Brandt, a surveyor working in an abandoned boarding school in the Austrian Alps. His team was in a van outside, communicating via radio as he mapped the decaying interior. The final transmission is part of mandatory reading for all archive field agents. His last words were, "There's a room here that shouldn't be here. This isn't on your diagram. Did one of you open this door? Guys? Guys?" The transmission ended abruptly. The team, violating protocol in a panic, rushed inside. They found the hallway empty. The door was gone. The only trace of Lucas Brandt was his flashlight, found fused halfway into the plaster of the far wall, its beam still cutting through the dusty air. The exploration logs are just as disturbing. I have here a partial transcript from Exploration Log 003A, a later attempt to study a manifestation. At 41 seconds in, the agent notes, door frame perfect match to hall material, but no construction seams. At 59 seconds, instruments detecting heart rate vibrations in the wall, not an echo of their own, but something else. At 1 minute, 15 seconds, the camera feed begins to warp. The agent reports, the room appears 1 meter deeper than physical space allows. Then, at 1 minute, 22 seconds, a voice clear as day over the comms. "Stop moving." The mission commander asks who said that. The agent inside replies, "I'm not moving." And in the next second, something else did. The feed cut out. The team was evacuated, and the room vanished 6 minutes later. What moved? We may never know. AE003 is a reminder that there are things in this world that operate on rules we can't comprehend. It is the ultimate predator of lonely places, turning our safest havens into traps. It's the reason archive agents are taught to fear silence, to distrust their own eyes, and to never, ever wander off alone. The room that was never built is always looking for a new tenant. Thank you for joining us in the archive. The secrets we guard are for the protection of all. If you value this knowledge, consider liking this transmission and subscribing for more. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and for your own sake, stay out of empty rooms.